Good afternoon to all the delegates who are here today. Very warm welcome to each one of you on behalf of the Confederation of Indian Private Universities. So it gives me immense pleasure to open today's webinar on the important theme, research data management in Indian universities, best practices, tools, and policy frameworks. So this is a topic that is timely, relevant, and critical to the evolving landscape of the Indian higher education and research. CIPU, as some of you are aware, is a not-for-profit platform committed to enhancing the voice, value, and visibility of private universities in India. So, through a series of meaningful initiatives from academic roundtables and policy dialogues to leadership summits and capacity building programs, our goal is to help institutions navigate change, embrace global best practices, and foster a culture of excellence and innovation. In recent years, the role of data and research has come under increasing scrutiny. So, with international collaborations, ethical compliance requirements, and rankings mechanisms placing a sharper focus on transparency, accessibility, and reproducibility, Indian universities need to strengthen their research data ecosystem. This includes everything from data planning and documentation to storage, sharing, and long term preservation. So, as institutions prepare for global rankings, accreditations, and enhanced industry engagement, robust research data management practices are not optional, they are foundational. So, today's session is designed to demystify the framework and policy structures needed to implement effective research data management in our universities. So, it will also spotlight tools and real world practices being adopted by some of the leading institutions. So, we are fortunate to have an exceptional panel with us today, featuring leaders who are at the forefront of institutional research management in various leading institutions in India. So to use our time most efficiently, we will not read out their detailed profiles. So please allow me to welcome our esteemed moderator and panelist for today, Professor Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, the moderator for today, the Vice President of Research Relations and Academic Ambassador, Elsevier India. Is also the former President of AIU. Professor Dr. Gautam Menon, Dean Research, Ashoka University, Sonipat. Professor Dr. Bhuvnesh Kumar, Dean Research, Sharda University, Greater Noida. Professor Dr. Shalini Kapoor, Director R&D Cell, SGT University, Gurugram. Professor Dr. Sarita Sachdeva, Executive Director and Dean Research, Manav, Rachna, International Institute of Research Studies, Faridabad. And Professor Dr. Sanjay Sharma, Dean Research, JECRC University, Jaipur. So the panel discussion will be held till 4:45 p.m. And the last 15 minutes will be for a few questions from the participants. And you can post your questions in the chat box, or during the Q&A, you can raise your hands and unmute to ask the questions. And my request is to please be brief and specific with the questions so that everyone will get an opportunity. So once again, thank you so much to all the panelists, the speakers who have joined us today. I now have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Sancheti to lead us into what promises to be a rich and forward-looking conversation. Thank you, and over to Dr. Sancheti.
Thank you, Mr. Karthik. Thank you, CIPU, for setting up this webinar on research data management. Thanks to Shalini also for doing the back-end work. Very happy to be with 5 distinguished experts from different universities of the country who will be sharing their thoughts and who will be sharing their ideas and valuable knowledge. You have rightly said that data or research data management is something very critical these days because India is aspirational. We as a country are growing tremendously in the domain of research. Our investment is going in terms of money, time, efforts. We want to see us growing in terms of position. So you probably know that India is number 3 in the output in terms of world of research for quite few years, maybe 2-3 years now. And the growth is also very good. But while the growth is good, whether we are able to do right things to make sure that this foundation which we are doing or this process which we are building will sustain us for a long time, will not feel the or face the heat of various things which sometimes can be challenging in the research domain. So research is something very, very important for country's progress. One can easily say that it is linked to what is our economic growth, our overall well-being, financial or otherwise, and maybe our position and might in the world also is defined by research. And research obviously is heavily data driven. Research without data would not be research because it cannot be then repeatable, maybe reliable, or maybe whatever it may be, reproducible. If it is not there, people won't believe. So research is something very important. And it becomes much more important for what you call early career researchers because they don't know much. And if pure data, available data is there to support them, they can probably have a head start. So that's the power of what you call this thing. And I must tell you that from my own experiences, I did my research work as a Commonwealth scholar in UK in early 90s, and I've seen the case where there were guys who were doing good work, but they did not maintain their data very nicely. They thought what they are doing is wonderful and novel, and it will sustain and it will fetch them whatever they want, and they did not you can say build their data, purify their data, check the correctness of their data. And at the end of 3 4 years when they started writing for, let's say, their doctoral work, they found that there were a lot of missing gaps were there, and therefore they suffered. Their whole process got delayed, and therefore data needs to be understood, corrected, improved upon, presented, checked against verifiable measures, and so on and so forth. So data is as we say in the world today, data is the new oil. All right, it's probably a very old saying, but it's a very important saying that what is the cost of it, who controls it, without which we cannot survive in the life today. I think that's the sense with data is the new oil. And I was just trying to learn that at what rate we are growing in the data domain. So last year, it is said, these are some ballpark figures, don't take it literally, and that is that around 400 million terabytes of data got added in 2024. Now, I can't write this very well if I have to express this in actual numbers. And so that is the rate of growth. Maybe in 2023 it was less than that. And the amount of data which world possesses today is supposed to be close to what you call 150 zettabytes. And once again, I'll leave it to your imagination that how it goes. It goes from tera to peta to exa to zeta. So all this 10 to the power 3 you keep adding. And so it's just growing. But it's growing purely because it is in terms of maybe availability of data is in form of articles, conference proceedings. It is in the form of reports, government publications, policies, books, patents, whatnot. These are forms in which data is generally made available to you, and some of it may be obviously in form of some observations also. Some of it may be in form of indices and matrices. Some of it may be in the form of citations, which have become now common to support research. So the new forms are also emerging for the data, that what comes out of publication, is it a citation or something like that. Even other forms of copyrights, designs, and all those things are also there. But I must tell you one thing, just to set the tone for the topic, that why data is important. I have known it for last 4 5 years, and I've been talking about it. That data is the starting point for most of the journeys of significance today. Data leads to information. We know that. A lot of data will lead to information. Information will possibly lead to knowledge or maybe sometimes intelligence. They might be overlapping terms, knowledge or intelligence. And that leads to wisdom. And wisdom is something more futuristic. From the previous trends, from the previous data, from the previous understanding and happenings or cycling or whatever, you derive a wisdom that something is going to happen. That's all the scientific world what has been doing for a long time, that it can foresee, it can create something. We can go to moon, we will do this, landing here, cost here, like that we do. But the world is changing furthermore. Wisdom itself is not sufficient now. You need to be relevant to what are the societal needs today in the earlier process of what I called data, information, knowledge, intelligence, wisdom, that it should be relevant. I may talk about something about sun, but I know that I cannot do much about it. So relevance may be a little less or maybe more, depends upon what you do. Relevance leads to application, that you will generate the applications, and those applications will be useful to the society. They'll feel happy, and lot is happening in the IT domain when it comes to that. And then that makes an impact. So impact becomes the most important. Today, if you're submitting a research proposal, what impact will it make? Will it help industry or society or people at large? Would it improve some system, efficiency, cost, reliability, whatever? Impact has to be assessed much ahead in advance, potentially even before you launch your research. And then once the impact is done, it generates the data that has it changed the things socially, economically, financially, religiously, geographically, whatever, and that generates the data. The whole cycle gets completed, in my opinion. And therefore, data is the prime mover for research, is what I'll probably try to say at this particular point of time. And it's something very, very essential. And hence, we are discussing what we call the elements of data. We will discuss certain points with all the distinguished experts, which will be falling in the broad category of what we call policy and framework, tools and technologies, collaborations and access, implementation challenges, and also best practices and use cases in certain way, we can say. No, not that everything will have a very definitive boundary. There will be some overlap here and there, but we'll try to categorize so that you have a better insight. All the listeners all the attendees who are going to be participating or who are joining us are already there will probably get a little bit better flavor of that. So we know that to deal with this data, we need what we call an important thing, overall research policy. And within the overall research policy, there should be something called data policy, and research policy becomes the catalyst. Institutions where research policies are not well defined, things don't move very smoothly, and then they tend to lose or suffer in certain cases because people compare various things with other groups or other individuals or other specializations or whatever it may be. And therefore, one needs to be a little cautious about what we call research policy. So let's talk about the policy framework first. And my question in this case would be to Dr. Shalini Kapoor from SGT University. Shalini, where
Yes, sir.
my question to you is, why is a formal research data management policy critical for Indian universities? And what are the key components it must include?
So I believe that a formal research data management policy is very, very essential for Indian universities. It is a strategic necessity for a university to have a formal research management policy because of certain reasons. The first and the foremost, I think, is it ensures the integrity of the research and obviously the quality of the research. The first important point, it will help us, the universities, to integrate the national repositories also. Because if you have a research management policy with you, you can have definite good collaborations with different universities. It'll help you with the various accreditations also. And even if we look at our mandate from the government, the NAP 2019, it is also talking about the National Repository for Academic Data. Then DBT in 2019, again talking about the framework for biological data. So I think it becomes an integral component for any growing university or higher education institute to have the development management policy with them. And so the second question, that what are the critical aspects of it, is I believe we should first have a clear purpose and need for research data management. We may be talking a lot about research data management, but we are lacking with the real purpose and the know why it is important to have a research data management within the university. Then the specific responsibilities at various levels in a higher education institution should be very clear, that what are the responsibilities of an administrative level, like to provide the infrastructure and the policies for research data management. At researcher level, what are the responsibilities, and also at the research supervisor level, like guidance and support
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, looks like we have lost Madam's connection,
Yes.
Shalini's connection. So, yes, what she was trying to explain was there should be standard processes and standard components, and it should be a distributed responsibilities. And I must tell you that tons of data is getting accumulated every day. The figure which I gave you, PETA and Zeta, probably speaks about that. And therefore, my next question would be to Sanjay ji, Dr. Sanjay Sharma sir from JECRC. How can universities institutionalize research data governance without overburdening the system or researchers? Everyone is keen on data, happy to process data, churn data, and say something based on data because they want to be much more accountable or required to be accountable. But would it overburden us? What is required? How can we handle? Can you explain something?
Yeah.
Give your views.
As sir, in your opening remark, you rightly said that India is very aspirational country and our aspirations are very high. And particularly when we are, dreaming for Viksit Bharat at 2047, and at the same time, when compliance requirements are there, ethical practices are much more required to promote and harness the research ecosystem. In such conditions, in many universities and especially private universities and state universities, there is lot of financial burden as well. If we go for research data management system. So in that case, I would like to suggest a few very simple and easy to follow steps without overburdening the existing systems or researchers. So first of all, we should adopt a lightweight governance policy, means in which leverage existing committees, because we have so many existing committees within the system. So we should take maximum leverage from them, like research advisory committee, institutional ethics committee, because that human resource is already available in the campus, and we should leverage them optimally. Second, we should not duplicate the checkpoints. Means if a research flow is like, for example, if you take a progress of a research scholar, the flow is like research scholar to supervisor to then head of department, then RSC chairman, then DRC chairman, then dean research. So in this flow, we should not duplicate the practices, means we should not duplicate the data archiving as well as data capturing. At the same time, we should also define clear ownership and accountability of all these points, means what will be the responsibility of the supervisor, what will be the responsibility of head of department, and what is the responsibility of dean research as well. So the data flow, data management, and data archiving, all these things will be smoothly will be at a place. And the most importantly, we should make people aware about importance of data management. And for that, we should organize small workshops, small discussions in small groups of research scholars or in small groups of early career professionals, because in every university, every year, so many young teachers we recruit. And I believe, and I hope all the panelists will be agree with me, that most of them are not very much aware about data mining and data management practices and how to make it relevant and foolproof. So such type of small workshops are very much required. And the most important, we should incentivize the good data management practices, because uh, all other things are idle, all other things are maybe idle. But practically, if we incentivize the best practices, if we incentivizes the good people who are working hard in data management governance, then it would be I believe it would be a game changer within that ecosystem. So these are a few points which I want to share with all of you.
Thank you so much. I think research thrives on incentivization, and it is very obvious that the data would be a part of that. a part of it. And indirectly, if I draw something from what you said, the data point should not be, or entry to data should not be repeated. One single source of entry should populate whichever, whatever, wherever it's required in your ERP or URP or MIS, and so that the reliability is there, the cost is also less, and so on and so forth. I think purifying data is also very important. From time to time, you'll have to shed the unwanted data and purify it and make it more usable form. So I must say that
Many
UGC
times,
is
sir,
an
one thing I also want to add here. Many times, sir, we observe that there are multiple accounts of the researchers on the different platforms. Like there are multiple Scopus ID, multiple Orchid ID sometimes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all such problems are also very critical.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So yes, what you said is right. And we also understand that sometimes we are very easily governed by what UGCs and AICTs says. All right. Or maybe the government says or government demands or something like that. We tend to follow that for whatever reasons, right or wrong. And therefore, government should have a role in, or the regulatory body should have a role in standardizing what we call research data management. I really don't know. I don't expect anyone of you to put a comment there, but I must say that government is already doing something. Let's say IC data. It may not be purely research, but it's education, teaching, learning, and various other things which are there. Then the academic bank of credit, another repository, which is also about research, which is also about education. Then repositories like Vidwan, which is probably on InflibNet, where you as a researcher register and do something. Then very recently, government has created, you can say in a way, repository or in a way a channel, if not repository, one nation, one subscription. So it's benefiting a lot of people that you don't have to store it every time and filter it every time and order it every time. Just with one stroke you can do. So government is doing a lot of things in my opinion. And so it is on this base comes my next question, which will go to Madam Professor Sarita Sachdeva from Manav Rachna. Madam, my question to you, based on the one nation, one subscription like model, we have been hearing about what you call one nation, one data. At least I have heard. I'm not fully aware, but I have heard about it a couple of times. And there are too many other one nation, one something, even for election, even for other things which are there. So, but in case of research data, do you think one nation, one data scheme will be a useful one? It will fructify in being something very innovative for India because ONOS has been appreciated by the world as far as whatever little I know about that. So my request to you, Professor Sarita, is on the one nation, one data scheme.
Thank you, sir. One nation, one data is very much on the table after one nation, one subscription. To be very honestly sharing that this has to come and will come. Now, the question is, if it comes, then it has to be a single authoritative digital source. And when I say this, it will connect all the regulators, the accreditation bodies, the ranking agencies, and the policy makers together. And it should be a kind of platform where all information which the data, as you say, is what we keep accumulating and keep simulating for our NAC, our UGC, AICT, and other agencies. We have been putting effort for whenever there is a cycle for NAC or other ranking, and also adding QS ranking and THE ranking, a good amount of time falls into collating the data, then curating the data, as you said, and then actually putting the data according to what is being asked for. So a good amount of effort and time goes into this. So if we have such kind of a platform, then it will be a regular exercise and not that when it is required and then everybody leaves everything and starts doing only this part of thing. it will remove duplication, and it will also save time of everyone, where this valuable time can be invested on doing research or any other activity one wants to do. Then, secondly, I feel it will improve the quality of the data and will also assure consistency. So, at given moment or a given time frame, I have put in a data. So next time, even the institution as an individual can go back and see, and it will be a kind of helping hand to the institutions also. They can also compare where they were earlier, maybe the last year or a year before, and what they need to do, what can be the projections for the coming year. So this kind of a platform will help in that also. It has to be fast driven and it has to be policy driven. We have to have a very strong policy on this. Uh, at the same time, there has to be promise that whatever we put as a data is thoroughly curated and is ethically put there. But at the same time, on such platforms, you need digital security. So
Okay.
if there is any breach in the data set, all that, then it will lead to many real-time risks and failures.
Yeah.
Security is very, very important.
Mm.
The smaller institutions might struggle in at the start in putting their data, because they cannot put lots of finances into their MIS system and all that. So this platform can also have a provision, if it is at the national level, to give small fundings to such institutions which can
Yes.
actually raise their infrastructure
Great.
and then participate on this platform. Data quality is, yes, equally important, but there has to be we have to be careful that we don't become over optimistic, I must say, on this platform. From
Okay.
time to time, we have to keep on monitoring and taking feedbacks, so
Sure.
that institutional assessment is not done on narrow data sets,
Great,
because
madam.
they
Yeah,
can
I
be
appreciate that. Yeah,
much
we'll
more.
come to some assessment
Yeah.
elements little later. But what you have said, while it is a very positive thing, there are some perils also that some
Yes.
smaller institutions may have challenged, some data loss or piracy, other things can also impact. But I have a one different opinion also, that smaller institutions may benefit more because they may not have repositories of any kind. So once these are being done just at a one click, like any other big institutions, they will have the much bigger positive side too. So let's see how it pans out, how it comes out. So with that, we move to the new theme of what we call tools and technologies involved in this data. And I must say that data is created, data is copied, data is captured, data is consumed, data comes from wherever, whatever. Okay. And in certain cases, when it's created or captured, it comes from elements of automation, then Internet of Things, then cloud technologies, and various other things from which the data comes. And in fact, all this has led to what you call the emergence and efficacy in what you call as the artificial intelligence. Of course, this existed 50 years back, but it died a natural death at that particular point of time. It has re-emerged in recent years or a decade in a very big way, primarily because of data and primarily because of these tools and technologies, which we are also going to be impacted. So in this context, my question goes to Professor Gautam Menon. Professor Menon, would you like to apprise us with the elements of tools and technologies that with the rise of AI and big data, which we hear every day, every Tom, Dick, and Harry knows, whether we know it or not, but we hear these. How are institutions adopting their research data management systems to manage large, complex, and interdisciplinary data set? I think Ashoka is a very relatively young but very dynamic university which has done extremely well, and I'm sure you have many experiences to share in this regard. Professor Menon.
Thank you, Professor Sancheti. At Ashoka, we are taking the lead in constructing state-of-the-art data infrastructure. We have a center that manages data, a variety of data, whether it's economic data, whether it's health data, whether it's political data that has been collected across the years, and to make it free and easily available to the outside. So what we're particularly interested in is how to use AI augmented methods to be able to analyze these data across multiple different streams that we're actually putting together. We put them together in a data lake so that we can connect them and construct tools to analyze them actually better. What we're particularly concerned with is a whole bunch of descriptors of the data that make for quality storage and manipulation. One is ensuring data quality, which I think is very important. So at the outset, if you control the level of data that is coming in and how that is reported to you, you can ensure a certain level of quality. It's important to understand data provenance. Where did the data come from? What are the metadata associated with it, etc. To maintain privacy in the cases where data is private, for example, health data typically involve private individual information. We need to clarify questions of data ownership and who is allowed to access the data. Maybe have multiple levels of access. Data security, as has been pointed out earlier, is an issue that all of us should be aware of. And that's very much a part of how we think of our data centers. Versioning, if you have multiple versions of the data that have been collected in time, and you want to say this is based on version 1.1, 1.3, 1.5, you need to have a clean system by which you record the nature of that versioning. You need to consistently back up data because, as you know, no technology is completely foolproof. You may have a crash in one server, etc. So methods for backing up data are also very important. Finally, handling data, the ethics of handling data is also very crucial, and that's where we need to be able to train people as well. So you can see that this is a very broad description of many things that come into the construction of data management systems so that you can manage very large, very complex and interdisciplinary data sets. And you must be aware of each one of these and the importance of each of these separately.
Anything special on data access once you create large data set and which may be or may not be relevant to you? How do you control the access and how do you make sure that the right data reaches the right person or through a right filter? It must be a very complex task, or you think there are easy way outs for that?
I think there are no easy way out. There are new protocol. The MCP protocol is one that allows you to not physically share infrastructure, but to share data across. These can be used across multiple organizations. And there are other types of data collaboration frameworks that are available that come from Anthropic, for example. We had take the general point of view that we should make data as freely available as possible if we are to progress as a nation in the direction of Viksit Bharat. That is only when you have multiple eyes looking at the data, the ability to work with it, to understand hidden patterns, can we actually go somewhere as a country, if we can go forward as a country. So that's a basic principle that we allow for, that we incorporate. But as you said, security is important, control of data, levels of access are all important, and these will undoubtedly go into a good data policy.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So we know, friends, that tools and technologies are fairly important. In fact, for everything else also in the world, it's mostly driven by technology. That's my firm opinion. And then later other things follow in terms of growth or economics or well-being or health or whatever that may be, because applications of technologies are there everywhere. So when institutions will have to adopt to these technologies, which are data driven or data hungry, whatever way you can call it, they need to have facilities called data centers and whatnot, you can say. But fortunately for us, the support which is provided by the cloud technologies has come as a boon to us. You don't have to create too much of direct infrastructure upfront. You can leverage on them. You can rent as you please. You can escalate what you need to do, how you need to do, and you can access it from anywhere. So I think emergence of new technologies, or it's not new, probably cloud is 15, 20 years old, but it has matured so much that everything is currently available on the cloud. And that is how it drives us. So I would possibly say to all the listeners that technology does not necessarily differentiates between rich and poor too much, or maybe between new and the old too much. For example, ONOS. If IITs or NITs or IIMs are getting some access, same is for any new government institution which was started maybe last year or whatever. So those differentiations are less. So technology possibly can improve many things, and cloud in that sense can handle storage and effectively deliver whatever and maintain continuity, reliability, what you want sometimes. That what happens that if my data out my center is hacked or my servers are hacked, and then possibly cloud technologies can help you with many other things. And they, of course, give you many expertise also. But this is a subject of mostly of computer science. When I say technology or electronics or communication, so we'll not dwell into that because we come from different background. Let me go to the collaboration and access, which is something very, very important for data, I believe. And you should know that research has to be in collaborative mode today if it has to be impact making. That's for sure. We all know that. And we have seen various indices from time to time in research evaluation that if you are not cooperating, collaborating, possibly your research will not get the same recognition and value. And therefore, the data also owes its existence to some extent to what you call the collaborative works. So in that context, I'll be requesting Professor Bhuvnesh Kumar from Sharda University that how can inter-institutional collaborations help in setting up shared research data management infrastructure, especially in for the resource constrained university. How do we share them? How do we collaborate? What can be done? Are there any examples for that?
Yeah, thank you very much. For this collaboration, as you said, is the key for promotion of research and how we can manage data. That is very important part. And I'll cite one example which I had during my presence in Chandigarh. Now, for better utilization of outcomes of the institutions under collaborations, so better resource utilization minimizes the duplication of resources first. As we see at national level, STEM approach is already there, which emphasizes the uploading of the name of the equipment, name of the resources, so that the nearby institutions which are resource deprived, they do not have much of the resources, they can utilize the resource where they are available. Here, now in Sharda University, what we are doing, we have got certain facilities. So we are collaborating with industries, we are collaborating with academic institutions also. Now on the same pattern, this collegiality, because we have got some equipment, X number, someone have another equipment, someone have another equipment. So we know which equipment is located where. So our PhD scholar, those young researchers, when we do not have this kind of facility, they go there at very nominal prices. They utilize their resources and they develop, they record the data, and the data are submitted to our repository, and then we work up. Now, example I'll cite, very good example, practical example. When I was in Chandigarh, I was in Leh. We have got one base station at Chandigarh, DRDO. So there are 3 DRDO institutions. There is Punjab University, there is NIPER, there is ISER, there is NABI, there is FSL, there are MTech. So many institutions are there. So around 10, 11 institutions, they made one collegium. And whatever equipment we had in our portfolio, we made one online platform, and everybody uploaded. And we used to organize small training or workshop. So researchers from all the 9, 10 or 11 institutions, they will be at one platform. They will come to know which facility is existing where. So without charging anything, I was that time in Chandigarh, I was very much impressed. Our PhD scholars, though, used to come from Leh, and they were deprived of with so many facilities. They will go without any haste to Punjab University. They will go without any haste to Institute of Nanoscience Technology, Mohali. They will go to NIPER. They will go to ISER. And also, those people, we had some very good biotechnology facility in Chandigarh, they will utilize. So in this way, a lot of data were collected for good cause, and there were joint publications. The good thing was not only the number which we are looking for, but the quality also improved. Otherwise, in DRDO, we did not believe in publication of good papers. But because of this CRIC, Chandigarh Research Integration of the Centers, that was the name given, and everybody was in win-win situation. And here also something we are going to repeat, but not exactly in the same fashion, because you know within private university there are so many hitch. But industry they are very much looking at Sharda University to utilize the resources which we are extending very regularly.
Thank you so much. I know that DRDO research labs and institutions around 50 to 16 number, which we know there may be more also. They are collaborating and doing very good work of national importance. So is the case possibly with the CSIR labs and Board of Research, Nuclear Sciences and ISROs and all that. So I think collaboration is must. As I was also saying in the beginning, teamwork is must. It saves the cost. It makes the utilization better. It brings the more brownie points in terms of impact and assessments and so on and so forth, which are there. And so therefore it's quite an important thing. And I would like to know a little bit more about these resource sharing or resource constrained universities, because what you gave was an example from the dedicated research labs. From the educational side, can I request Dr. Shalini Kapoor to share some thoughts, if possible, if you have something to let us know that how do you do such an element of resource sharing in the universities?
Yes, sir. Sir, regarding the interinstitutional collaborations with respect to RDM infrastructure, I think the biggest advantage we are having is that we are elevating the resource constraints, especially in a resource constrained university. We have a very good example of One Nation, One Subscription, where we have an equitable access to high quality academic research. Similarly, in terms of research data management, it not only will reduce the cost but also will provide an equitable access to the research data to all the research constrained universities. And above that, it will not only help us in cost sharing but also will help us with pooled expertise. As sir has already mentioned that it helps us with the better joint publications, it will also help us with joint access to national and international grants. And I believe that these larger universities can turn as a training hubs for research data management training centers for these research constrained universities also.
Okay,
That's my say.
thank you. Dr. Sharma, can you also share your quick word? Because this is something very important we should know from each other, that what do we do to promote what we call the interinstitutional collaborations. I think that will be a very big necessity of Indian institutions. In research, sometimes we try to be secretive, but my personal opinion is the knowledge, when shared, continues to grow. When confined to your own domain or places, probably it will not grow because people will not work on that. And unless people work and further your work, that research area will not grow. So a quick word from you, Professor Sharma, on this element.
Sir, when we talk about collective capacity building, the capacity building model, the consortium-based model of data research, research data management is very important. By taking a very simple example, I just want to add one thing. For example, where I am working, I'm in Rajasthan. Suppose there are three good institutions like JECRC University, MNIT, and BITS Pilani. For example, there are three institutions, and if they collaborate for research data management, then in that case, it could be a jointly establish a Rajasthan Data Commons, right? And combining technical hosting from MNIT, for example, policy governance inputs from JECRC, for example, and research training contributions from BITS Pilani, because research training is also very important. Whenever we go for research data management, training is very important. So training, technique, and management of data, these three different domains. And then when we collaborate institutionally, when we collaborate in a collective way, in that case, it would be very critical and very important that we should divide the work, and we should collaborate at once, right? At the same time, such models are cost effective also, as my previous panelist just shared with us, that cost effectiveness is a very important and quite required highlight in such type of collaborations. So in my opinion, that is the it is the era of collaboration, and without collaboration we cannot manage a good data.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. So I think the emphasis is on collating data. It can come from various institutions. It can come from wherever. And therefore, in that context, I'd like to ask Professor Sarita Sachdeva, Madam, what are the general conventional types as well as the sources of data in regard to research requirement? Let's say the three institutions which he named, they come together and want to gather data. What type of data should they gather? What type of data which can be shared? Any insights there, Madam?
Yeah, so when we come to the types, or what I say, classification of data, then we are all well aware that the categories, the conventional categories, are either qualitative data, quantitative data, and somewhere we also have mixed data.
Mm-hmm.
But people from sciences, they always generate data. So
Mm-hmm.
that is primary data. And
Mm-hmm.
people from social science domain, they I have seen them working on not only on primary data which they get through field surveys and case studies, but also on what you call as secondary data,
Mm-hmm.
which
Right.
they take and they also work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, access to all these categories of data is easier. We are doing it, and we have the know-how of this kind of data. But at times, we are unable to approach various NGOs or government reports or industrial reports,
Mm-hmm.
which we keep on, searching, and we keep on surfing, but still we do not get these data. So academic and institutional repositories, if they can have these industry data or government report data, that will benefit the researchers quite a lot. And then coming to field data, like most of the people who are working on the field and generating data, even that kind of regional data, for example, organizations like Central Groundwater Board, right, or Central Water Commission. So if their data can also be put into these repositories, people working in the domain of geoscience or in the domain of water, they can access this data.
Great.
So
Yeah.
we
Mm-hmm.
are unable to approach these data sets.
Okay, Madam. Very rightly said. Data can be of various types. You'll have to sit down. What do you do and others do? I think primary, secondary data, Madam talked about. There are data which are also called structured data which are called qualitative and quantitative data which are requirements of big data data sets. So they are generated in a certain fashion. And by the way, data are generated by anything or everything you can imagine: surveys, questionnaires, interviews, observations, experiments, case studies, secondary data analysis or reuse of the existing data, which many common in India, data mining, maybe some extracting certain things, some computational algorithms gives you, further things. So there's so many things which is happening in data. And obviously, we need to learn from each other, sit down and start sharing whatever we can. In this context, I have one more question, which I will point it to Dr. Sharda, Bhuvnesh Kumarji, but from the Sharda University, Bhuvneshji. The point here is that open access is now taking a call, which is again a pool of data. Uh, there are lot of qualms about that. I'm not going to get into that, but I must say that the government is doing its might by creating certain platforms within ONOS. They have done something for APCs and open access. Then InflibNet is doing many things. Then Delnet kind of organizations are also doing some things. And then eShod Sindhu is again a boon for that. Then there are bibliographical databases from here there. There is Shodh Ganga, which is there. Then there are national missions on manuscript, And then, of course, every individual institution is trying to create something. I know IISc, I was on their board for some time, and there are people who are creating certain repositories of data for validation of certain results and all that. So my question to you, Dr. Bhuvnesh Kumar, since you come from the field side also, what are your thoughts on open access mandate? Should Indian universities make research data publicly accessible by default? It's a very sensitive question, particularly you come from defense, so please let us know your views.
So, sir, it has got both the ways. In academic and forget about defense and this thing for a while. This is need of the hour. Was, as you said very rightly, we are third in publication of paper number wise. Number wise. Now, China is publishing more than 9 lakhs, US is 5 lakhs, probably we are between 2.5 and 3. So we have to increase the number. But along with the number, as you said very rightly, number will not do, no, will not suffice the requirement. Quality matters much. Whether it is a patent or it is a research paper. So now to improve the quality and to improve the number both, as we have to lead, as our Honorable Prime Minister keeps asking all the scientists that you have to be the leader, world leader, and 2047 is the time we have been given. Why not before that? We think we have to think twice. So for that, open access is the answer, because it is, we can have it anywhere, we can take it from anywhere like that. And ONS is the very right step which the government India has taken. But the only this thing is phase 1, which includes thousands of public institutions. Private universities have not been given this kind of facility. But we were discussing last week, the second phase they might think of. So the money which we are spending for subscribing the journal, all those things, say 5-6 crore every year, I think we can save and we can utilize this thing for some other purpose for research. That is our view.
Sorry to interrupt. Money may not be saved, but the facilitation may happen.
Yeah, facilitation, much more facilitation. That is very correct.
And
Yeah,
it'll be
money also, sir. Private university money also matters.
Yeah, no, may not be saved, but
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
a little more
A
conservative,
little more.
or
Yeah, yeah.
maybe something
Yeah, yeah.
like that. Okay,
But
okay,
the thing is, we do not have this kind of policy now.
okay.
But you said, what are the benefits? As I said, this visibility and impact of research. Everybody knows.
Yeah,
Easy access, more citations, more collaborations.
correct.
More collaborations.
Okay.
And then innovation and interdisciplinary work.
Okay.
Because without this, we cannot.
Yes.
Our university is multidisciplinary. We are not doing, because single man army concept is gone. Until we join hands, many things can be done.
Okay.
Then transparency, reproducibility, as you rightly said, and this aligned with the global open access movement. That is much more important. And the other part, if we see, as you said, like DRDO, all those fellow, where they have got restricted data. One is open data where we can put anywhere. Another set of data is restricted.
Okay.
We have some restriction. Third one is the sensitivity. We should not put sensitive data.
Great.
But here the problem for open access is the high APC. Very, very high APC, $2,000.
That anyway is
like
a slightly different angle. We'll not get into that because there are
And
various
then there is-
models, green, gold, and various things which are
that,
there.
that is there, sir.
But
And
as a
then there is risk
policy,
of-
you promote open access is what you are trying to say. So we take that as a word, and we should think about it. We should evolve. And there are translational agreements which institutions are doing. By the way, in India also it is happening. And in the world over, people are doing it with various stakeholders in this domain. So I think that's a very sensitive thing. So let's, based on that how do we do APCs, or how do we do anything? Let's go to the new theme called implementation challenges.
Yes.
Implementation of anything good which we think is very important. And in this context, my question, possibly, I'll not give a brief because implementation is a challenge everywhere, particularly in Indian context, because our scale is very large, diversity is very large, expectations are very widely varied, so on and so forth. So implementation challenges are big. But my question to you, Professor Menon, is that what role can leaderships like VCs and deans and people like you and me play in championing RDM practices institution-wide, and how should they get started with it? Please throw your views on that.
I think the most important part that we all recognize is that good examples flow from the top, and that provided senior leadership sets an example for what it wants to see, then the rest of the institution will follow. We have the advantage that we need not reinvent the wheel. Many of these processes are very well structured outside India. So we can pick and choose which processes are best for us, which processes represent us most closely, and mix and match across these. The final point, of course, is that I think it's important that leadership understand the importance of open access, open data, and data sharing wherever possible. If that is a part of how leadership presents its organization to the outside world, says this is how we think of ourselves and our relationship to data and our relationship to make data available, then I think the whole organization will follow after that. But it's important. I think leadership is actually very crucial at this point.
Okay. Can you give us one or two examples? Suppose you are the Vice Chancellor of Ashoka. What will be those one or two immediate steps in this particular direction that you are data driven and your actions percolate down to the lowest level in promoting it to be more data driven?
I think in many ways we already do that in the sense that all of the work that, for example, I do or the Vice Chancellor does is automatically on a public archive, a preprint archive for goodness, mathematics or astrophysics or one of these. And usually with most journals in biology now, you're required to put, for example, computational biology codes are required to be made public, to be put on a public server. So we accede to all of these, and they're in fact a part of the way that we think about how we present science to the outside world, both to us and to the outside world. In our new data center, it's very much a part of that we make data accessible with appropriate controls where data is sensitive, where we have to be careful about data. But again, making data easily accessible, allowing for multiple tools, including modern AI tools to access them, and to be able to help other institutions that say, look, can you help us recreate something similar in our place? That we consider to be our duty. And so it is very central to Ashoka's mission and the way we think about data.
Oh, very good. I think what you have said is it has to be central to your mission. It cannot be selective that I want something from someone and therefore I put a dictate and others are moving scot-free. I think it's a mutual, it's for everyone, and it's possibly, as he has said, can be top driven because it cannot be very easily be bottom driven. Bottom driven can add value in terms of what to be done, not to be done, but top has to have the clear mandate that it should be seen in the form of light of the day kind of a thing. That's very important. Thank you for that. And we are all leaders, so please take it as a word from this discussion that you'll promote this to be percolated at all levels in your respective institutions and neighbors and partners as well. But when you do that, there are challenges of sensitive data like finances. No one would like to tell their financial health. Or maybe something else also, or maybe some strategic elements of research. These can be challenged, and dealing with that can be a challenge. And therefore the implementation faces many, many barriers. All right. In that context, I'll go to Dr. Shalini Kapoor. Madam, can you please let us know from your experience in SGT that what are the major barriers universities face in implementing robust RDM systems? They may be funding, they may be awareness, they may be infrastructure. So how have you overcome? What have you done?
Regarding, sir, the barriers, I believe the first and the most important barrier we faced in the university was the awareness gap. Researchers had hardly had any knowledge about the FAIR principle, the research data management. So to overcome that, we started conducting certain trainings for them, so that gap between the skill and the decision making is not there, so that awareness gap is fulfilled. Second important barrier which I felt at the university level was funding. Inadequate funding in terms of getting good servers, cloud storage, and AI big databases. So for that, this year, we have taken an initiative to have a specific budget for research data management from the research wing. We have specifically kept a budget specifically for this research data management. Now, one more important barrier which I faced was that there was no research data management policy as such in the university per se. But if I look at the government fundings also, they too do not have a particular research data management policy. And we are working on this. And this is our next 2-year mission to have a complete research data management policy, as we have almost 18 colleges within the university and have health as a very important medical college as a very important data center of SGT University. So we're working towards this creation of research data management policies within the university. Some type of means some issues with the researchers are also there. When I talk about barrier, they are not very comfortable with the newer research data management systems. Like they think it's an extra burden to them to record all those things. But we have created certain incentives for them, that how these data management would be helpful to them. Apart from them, I believe IPR, patent, these are other certain legal issues which have to be clear in institutional policies when we are talking about the research data management.
Great. Thank you. So keeping on the implementation challenges, Professor Menon said that the leadership should play a role. Madam just now said, Shalini, that there should be a clear policy. So obviously the involvement of all stakeholders are required. So my next question is to Dr. Professor Sanjay Sharma ji, that how do you go below the level of VCs and deans and make sure that they also in a structured way understand and implement what can be done, or what do you foresee as a challenge there? They may say, hey, what am I getting from this data? Why are you bothering me with a lot of other things which are required in form of data? I'll probably do my research and forget about anything else. So how do you escalate the numbers to the lowest level, and how do you make sure that the efficacy is good? Sanjay.
Actually, sir, when we talk about research data management, it is not merely a technical function. It is a cultural shift towards integrity, transparency, and reproductivity, right? And leadership can drive this transformation through vision, policy, and visible prioritization. When the people like in the leadership role, they must take a step towards building credibility and compliance both hand in hand. And there may be some policy which may be aligned with the national mandates. It may be DST open access policy, it may be national data sharing and accessibility policy, or it may be international policy like UNESCO Open Science recommendations. And when the leadership like Dean Research or Vice Chancellor or some other person sitting on apex chair, when the leadership aligns institutional policy with these frameworks, I think it builds credibility with funding agencies and national bodies like DST, like DBT, like DRDO, ISRO, and so many other agencies which are working for the research and development in the country. And leadership as enablers of infrastructures and capacity, because leadership is actually the point from where every policy is driven, every guidelines is publicized and notified. So prioritizing institutional investment is another very important point. Other than these, empowering faculty and researchers. And again, I emphasize on the point that training of trainers is very important, because without training of trainers, without training of our faculty members and supervisors, many times a fresh PhD is going to start guiding PhD scholar. And in that case, what do you expect? What type of research data they will manage? So all these things, if we make our policies related with all these points, and keep in mind that the policy should be researcher centric, then only I think it would be beneficial for all stakeholders of the ecosystem.
Great. So you are rightly said, training the trainers, and of course, training the people at large, both will go hand in hand with the trainers,
Yes,
and exposing them to varied and variety of methods, management systems for data or frameworks, whether it's DST or someone else, should also be known so that they become appreciative, and slowly it goes in their heart that yeah, something's required for the good of country or everything, and that's how they will start following it. So I appreciate all that in terms of the implementation aspect. You don't have to necessarily limit yourself to lead by an example by saying, yes, I'm promoting it. You will have to measure the output and the outcomes and the impact, whether that policy is changing something in
exactly.
your institution or not. I think that will be the role of the leader in implementing it. So we move
Exactly.
on to the last segment of our this thing, and probably last 10, 12 minutes in our hands, 15 minutes in our hand. I come to the best practices. Best practices are typically can be also use cases. In certain cases, it can be a little flip side also, because that's also a knowledge that something we tried, something worked, something didn't work. So, well, for remaining positive, we always call them as best cases, but I don't mind if you share something which did not work, because I consider that to be equally important knowledge. So, in that context, my question goes to Professor Menon, Professor Gautam Menon from Ashoka. Professor Menon, can you share some successful RDM models or initiatives implemented at your institution? Maybe you have just pointed in the earlier answer, but what has worked, and more importantly, what has not worked? Can you share something?
Yeah, we have a research and development office at Ashoka, which is
Hmm.
a sort of nodal office that manages research across pre-grants, post-grants, the management of the PhD program, etc. So that's a natural
Hmm.
institutional center for the management of research data.
Hmm.
Under this, we also maintain a web page for research at Ashoka, and also we tie up with an organization called Resurgence, which essentially trawls the web for published data
Okay.
that come out of the university.
Okay.
Individual faculty members can add to that, can add files, can link things that they've been doing across multiple, for example, Google Scholar, etc. And they can use it to maintain a repository of data that they themselves have verified. This is important because many journals nowadays require, as I said, that you load your codes, your images, etc., on something that is publicly accessible. And here is something that an individual investigator can directly control, but is associated with the university and is publicly accessible. So the Research and Development Office does many other things. It runs regular training sessions for PhD students on questions of data management, etc. And part of methodology and research ethics course that all of us are required to teach to students in their PhDs. Just also thinking about data and data privacy issues is also very much a part of that. We also tie up our internal review board, our IRB, as well as the Human Research Ethics Committee. Both of these, we have a tie-up with an organization called Citi that runs ethics training, and
Hmm.
part of that ethics training includes modules on data security, on data safety and privacy, etc. So most people who submit any sort of grant that requires clearance from an IRB or from HRC, everybody is required to undergo proper ethics training in the use of data. Finally, most grant agencies and internal committees have a focus on privacy. This is a statutory requirement for healthy research and transparent research, and we're very well aware of that. You wanted to know about failures. I think one
Yeah.
failure is to
Flip side
combine
is
all of this.
equally important. Flip
Now,
side
the
is
flip side, as far as I can see, is that should combine all of this into a coherent policy. We've not
uh,
done that. We have done these individual little pieces
piecemeal,
together. We're
piecemeal,
in
right?
the process of drafting a comprehensive data policy that will cover the entire university, but have not done that yet. And again, when we do that, we will make it public so that people can see what we have done and choose from that things that might work for their own individual situation.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for that. I move on in the same thing in terms of best practices to Professor Sarita Sachdeva from Manav Rachna. Madam, how can Indian universities promote a culture of ethical data sharing and long-term data preservation amongst researchers and PhD scholars? It comes and goes away with the students. The work is lost, the continuity is lost, nothing is known to the institution what they did few years back, and therefore preserving data and also the nature of data or type of data can be more ethical. Ethical issues are cropping up like crazy in research these days. So, any experiences there as good practices from your side?
Yeah, so as my co-panelists have put down, the first and the foremost requirement is that we have a robust policy, institutional policy, and a good framework wherein the data can be received ethically and preserved and stored. So it is not only about policy, we also need to have a data governance body which actually takes care of the ethical parts, because rightly, as you have said, sir, there are many issues which keep coming up, and with tools like what they are in the market, where you call it chat gpt or you call them ai, yeah, I have seen researchers, becoming more dependent on their tools rather than on their own intellect. So, the original and genuine thinking and writing is what is being challenged by these tools. So, it is very important to have a policy in place and then a small governance body which can always peep into it, take feedbacks, and also monitor quality. And secondly, I think technical infrastructure is equally important. The institutions which have institutional repository, and that too a functional one, should be very careful in taking up the data, securing it very carefully, and then proper workflows, as you also mentioned, that what should be the different levels by which the access to data can be done. So that is there. And then the third vertical, which I think is very critical, is the capacity building. So when I say capacity building, it is not to be limited to researchers or to students or PhD research scholars. We have to do capacity building of supervisors, co-supervisors, and even IT staff. So they have to be also told about why it is important to manage data and why to secure it ethically. And then behavioral changes, this will certainly ask for behavioral changes. And behavioral changes only come when you give incentives. As you also said, that incentives are the ones which these days help the people to perform in more discipline and ethics. Apart from that, I think certain legal frameworks are also needed. You have to have the behavioral change of people. You have to need to respect other people's IP. So
Correct.
intellectual property has to be well told to these people, and also practice. Telling is not enough. You need to practice IP. And then for all this, I think it is important that our libraries, which have the repository, they should be given little extra funds so that they can manage and make their repositories much more functional. I don't say that it has to be only one-sided, that you go on giving the funds. They can charge small fee for service and get into ROI model. So that can help within the institution, and they can always build their own consortia. Here, we in our library, we have many such consortia. The one which is being most approached by our researchers is Delnet services. So Delnet has helped the researchers a lot. And then our librarian, Mr. Rajesh, he is very proactive in getting the
Great.
research papers through
Okay.
all
Yeah, I
different.
think those are the support services we need.
Yeah.
But you very rightly said in the context of ethical that honor the IPs, copyrights or
Yes.
patents, or one who has a right claim on development of new knowledge or whatever data or all that. It's something very important. So, friends, we have heard from the academics about the best practices in their institutions. Let's get it from outside the academic world. Dr. Bhuvnesh Kumar, while you are in Sharda, I will still be tempted to ask you that what might be one or two best practices which you followed in DRDO when it comes to data management or data practices?
Sir, in DRDO, we have got our own internal internet system secured.
Okay.
So whatever project is formulated, because everything is restricted or the secret.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to put everything right from formulation of the project on that,
Mm-hmm.
we can say the net system,
Mm-hmm.
which is which all the directors and some key persons have been given access to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever progress report are made, reviews are done,
Mm-hmm.
report is submitted, what expenditure it involves, what paper is not the mandate, what patent and what commercialization has been done. That all those data are stored in very nice fashion. And sitting people, those who are in DRDO headquarter or the institutional head, they can very much access to it and they
So
can follow
safety
it.
is taken care. That's a good
Very good safety,
example.
sir. Very good
But
safety.
proper dissemination may also be important because it will excite me. I'll see,
Yeah.
oh, Dr. Bhuvnesh has done something. Why can't I also do something?
Yeah, so
He has been recognized. Why can't I go for recognition? So is the dissemination also happening?
yeah,
Very rightly.
very smooth, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Dissemination within a house is very smooth
Okay.
without any problem.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
there, but I'll also cite, with your permission, example of Sharda.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
Okay.
that DRDO alone is doing like this because they're all
Okay.
resourceful. Here, what I found, because I have completed 5 years here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, cloud-based data management system, which we call e-zone,
Mm-hmm.
electronic zone.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a good data management system. Entire data of the university, 14 schools,
Mm-hmm.
including medical, dental, all those fellows.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is uploaded on that. As you said, this is cultural change. All the faculty members, what they have done, they upload. What they have been, incentives also, they upload. Now, I faced one problem when I submitted one mega project to DST and they wanted SIRO certificate,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Industrial Research
Yeah.
Organization,
Correct.
okay, Science and Industrial Research Organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the type of data they demanded, I never had in my mind. It took
Uh-huh.
me almost 15-20 days to collect, other than
Correct.
the C-zone. Because the administrative, financial, this thing, science data, what
Very.
procurement has been done from this quarter, what procurement has been done. So recently, I am after this and this software is almost ready. This science and research,
Okay.
right from when anybody develops any kind of proposal,
Okay. Yeah.
okay, we generally discuss in our boardroom and then it is uploaded there. Then
Mm-hmm.
what first requirement of this thing,
Mm-hmm.
items, store items was
Mm-hmm.
made. So,
Mm-hmm.
right, so many things are there until the utilization of certificate and submission of closure report. So,
Very.
these two practices Sharda University is applying and
Ve-
I am very proud of. So,
Very good.
I belong from DRDO. I said we are the only champion, but universities too are doing very well. They are doing
No,
very
so
well.
I think good best practices were shared by all of you, including you, Professor Kumar. And it's more towards self-discovery. The left hand would not know what is right hand doing, and vice versa sometimes happen in research. So this good data policy, good procedures, good systems, various things will probably integrate the data. And an integrated data will lead you to a much better success. And integrated data is what is needed in multidisciplinary world. Integrated data is what is needed in the AI's world because it can then cross correlate things. It will not limited or subjected to a certain small things only. And you also cited, some of you cited some of the examples of the tools which you do, which helps you in terms of doing certain things. So I must also say that I also work, though not in academic or pure research world right now, but the company or the organization for whom I work is Elsevier, typically world's number one research data or research provider in terms of publications and support systems. So we also have created a lot of frameworks which helps you with the data. Some of those are known to you, and probably Professor Sarita was just making a mention in the beginning. Scopus, which also has a AI version. Then Science Direct, which also has a AI version with full text and all details. Then we have SciVal, which helps you in terms of evaluate, benchmarking, knowing what is happening. We do have Pure, which is for research management, right from day one till the research project is finished or evaluated, analyzed. Such tools are there. We are also coming out with newer tools, but there is one which is coming very soon is in India, is Interfolio, because faculty does a lot of research and faculty's management is required in terms of what they do, how they get evaluated and selected and whatever. So I think almost all other companies must also be doing something similar, something different. Then they will have their unique solutions to provide with. And my suggestion to all the listeners, readers, likely beneficiaries, that evaluate them, judge them, assess them, and go for them, because tools can make your life rather easy. Don't depend them on fully, in the sense that you have to apply your mind. You cannot just give an output from AI and say, this is my paper. That will be rubbish, that will be caught, that will be penalized in long run. So you'll have to apply your mind, apply your this thing, but make use of tools, make use of data. Tools without data will not work. Data is what we were discussing, but data eventually, if it is to be used, it will be tools. Without tools, data cannot be analyzed. However, I must say that the concerns will still remain. The journey is just which has begun, and concerns are of quality, concerns are of ethical nature, concerns are of manipulation, concerns are of complexity, com- concerns are of in data bias risk. We know from AI, concerns are of hallucination, concerns are probably resource constraint, that you cannot do enough data to really come out with the right answer. Constraints will remain in life forever. Whatever may come, whatever may no go, new constraints will come. But we should move on. I think that's the message collectively we would like to give. So with that, we would like to close the thing, but we will let the audience ask us some questions. If the audience have pointed questions for any of the speakers or panelists, that would be nice. If it is generic question, open question, I'll let anyone raise hand to answer that. You can unmute yourself and answer that, is what I would like to do. And finally, before we end, we'll possibly have maybe half a minute or less than that of your punchline for data and research data management. So with that, we are open. If Saloni is bringing the questions to fore, or Karthik ji, please let us know.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Sancheti. So we have a few questions.
Yeah.
2 or 3 questions. Let me read it out for you.
Yeah.
So from Professor Dr. Satyanarayan Reddy, how can India transform its research ecosystem to ensure global competitiveness, foster innovation translation, and build international collaborative networks, given the current challenges in funding, talent retention, infrastructure, and stakeholder synergy? So
That's quite a deep question, involves many things. I'll let any one of the panelists please answer that. Anyone who would like to do that. Can we see the question also on the chat? Is it on the chat?
yes, it is in the Q&A. You can just
It's
see that.
on the Q&A.
Yeah, so all panelists
So
can see that. Yes.
one can read it
They can
also.
read.
Yes.
Yes, anyone please.
Yeah, so international collaboration is not difficult these days, you know. There are many ways, and every institution is working on international collaborations. So, see, the most important point in international collaboration is that the initial handshake has to be there, and then micro mapping of the domains. So what I feel the best way to have a very robust international collaboration is through research papers. So if you can look for your look for those resources or those people who are working in your domain of research, you can approach them, you can talk to them, you can co-author a research paper, and that is how the journey starts. So once you are a co-author, then next step, your domains map, your interest map, the trust develops, and then you can go for joint funding.
Yeah,
So, you know,
very
regionally, you can start regionally with your Asian countries and maybe then European countries and then beyond. But over these years, working in this domain, I have always seen that the best way is to start with collaborating on a research paper.
Very right, madam. I'll just add a short element to it for Professor Reddy, that research is best suited for what you call international collaboration, because it's rather flexible in terms of time and rules. Sometimes it really helps you. And when it comes to innovation, translation, global competitiveness, I think India is doing a lot in terms of policy changes, financial investments, time and weightage to be given every day in and day out. We read about innovations and the numbers and the startups and incubations and entrepreneurship, and it's being embedded and hackathons and all that. I think it's a slightly slow and gradual process. It cannot be stepped up just like that. But India is improving in most of the indices related to these kind of things. I can say to you. And the best thing is the Indian mind is most potent, most talented. And therefore, we just have to make the directions correct and things will start falling in place. That's my belief and that's my answer to you. Is that fine? And if there is more, please feel free to write to Karthik. He will share it with us and we can add more value to it. Let's go to the next question if we
Yes,
can.
so from Dr. Praveen Vaidya, are researchers interested to share their collected data? Who is going to manage and data formats and curate? Question.
Okay. Can anyone take a plunge in this?
So,
I
sir,
think
as per UGC, every institution these days is having a research and development cell in the university. So, this cell can take care of all these nitty-gritties of research, data management, along with the libraries or in a given set of university.
yeah. Professor Vedya, it's a slightly maybe a complicated, tough
Yeah.
question to say so, but whether they are interested or not, I think we have to convince them that this is how the research will grow. I think I made a statement in between that research grows by sharing, knowledge grows by sharing and not by confining. Data is a part of that research, and therefore we'll have to convince them that why we are here for the betterment of the entire humanity, mankind, and not myself or my institution alone. So top level will have to work on that. Who is going to manage? For every work which we do, there is a champion, there is a team leader, or if not, we should select one and rely on them that they will do a reasonable job. We can sit down with them, make a policy that what can be shared if it is a complicated or a secret one, confidential one, and all that. Yes, data formats can be a challenge because it's still at a lower level. I know that in most cases, I'm from electronics background. Even to make a device, there are thousands of devices which are made doing a similar function. So those challenges will be there. Data formats are very many. But hopefully, some of the bodies and some of the collective work and some of the findings which we'll have when we come together, sit on the same table, will come out with the formats also. And maybe there are some formats already existing which our team or we as such may not be aware. Anyone who has that knowledge can possibly add to the chat by saying that these are the available tools. So let's go to the last question if we
Last
have.
question, yes.
Yeah.
From Dr. Jyoti from MUHS. One second, who's ready?
Uh-huh.
Can we make a standard system for all the universities with RDM units in each university with a standard protocol? This will make things easier as roles and responsibilities are defined.
Okay, can once again someone take a plunge in this?
So I think that making a standard system for all the universities with research data management is very challenging. But definitely, if all the government agencies, funding agencies, government come forward with certain protocol, it would be very, very beneficial for all of us. But definitely, this is challenging right now.
Now, sir,
As we
coming to
do.
this ANRF, I think
Mm-hmm.
ANRF should take lead
Mm-hmm.
because it is going to become the largest body for funding.
Correct.
And some policies framed and UGC taking care.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is depends from institution to institutions, no
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
But if the policy, national policy is framed by this thing funding agency and then monitored accordingly.
Okay.
Monitoring is much more important at university level, institution level, at a
Mhm.
national level. I think this can be done.
Okay, great.
This
Yeah,
can be
very
done.
nice. Thank you. Professor Menon, you all wanted to share something?
Just to agree with Dr. Shalini, I think it should be light touch. And in general, providing best practices and discussing them and making them available might be a better way than to micromanage each institute, which would take a lot of work and reduces the ability of each of our institutions to be flexible and design something that works best for us.
Great. Yeah. So one more point you can add is there are diverse fields. They require a lot of diverse kind of data, and the sensitivities can also be different. So driving them with one yardstick or one framework possibly would be a challenge. As I said, India is a very, very diverse thing. So keep that also in mind, but that doesn't mean that everyone creates their own way to do it. That also will confuse. I think one of the answer is that even ANRF can probably provide something as a baseline that these are some of the things which we will follow. So friends, there can be many things. I can see there are more questions on ONers, not in private universities. Whatever little I know, private universities are working towards that collectively with the other stakeholders to see that if they can also be benefited. Results are not available publicly, so we cannot discuss them right now, but it's probably, you can say that it's work in progress. As I said in the beginning, various other countries in the world have also got attracted to what you call the ONOS kind of a framework. So let's see that our country at least gets the full benefit. But by the way, you should know that government's second phase for ONOS was to make it available to all the stakeholders directly, research organizations, institutions, private and all that. And finally, to the lowest level, in third level was common people, common men. There can be a studio or there can be a cafe where you can just go and type and get what you want to know. That is the intent government has for ONOS. So let's hope that it'll reach that level. With that, would like to come to close. We have slightly overrun. Just one punchline, however small it may be, it'll be better. Each one of you, I can see Gautam Menonji right now on the screen. So you start with that, Menon sir.
I think collaboration is always very important, and to be able to discuss across institutions what our own best practices are and learning from each other is the way to go.
Okay, great. Dr. Kapoor, please. Madam, you have to unmute yourself, please. Yeah.
Sir, I believe the three essence will be we have to collaborate, secure the data, share, and then sustain in the system.
Okay, great. Very nice. I move on to Professor Sanjay Sharma.
So
Sanjay
to
ji.
keep governance credible, I think use of FAIR principles, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable is perhaps the guiding framework. We should all opt for that.
Okay, I will request the same thing to Professor Sarita Sachdeva. Is she there?
Sir,
Yeah.
I feel managing data today is about empowering researchers and bringing discoveries tomorrow.
Okay, very nice. So you are very futuristic and good. That's the way it should be. And finally, to Professor Bhuvnesh Kumar ji from
Sir,
Sharda.
collaboration is the key for promotion of research. But data management system and data management plan should be in place very beginning.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, all of you, for your contributions. Once again, thank you to CIPU, thank you to all the experts, and most importantly, thank you to all the attendees and the participants, and particularly those who raised questions. Thoroughly enjoyed, great bit of learning for all of us, and hopefully we'll translate it into action to make our future better. Thank you so much, and all the best, and happy Deepavali, happy season's greetings to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Dr. Sancheti.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, everyone.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Happy Deepavali.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, all the
To all the
panelists.
panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.